Hey guys, Tarek with Cyclone FPV. I am going to do a quick video here for the installation of the FrSky XM Plus receiver onto the HGLRC XJB 145 quad. It shipped without the receiver and the customer had asked me to go ahead and put it on there, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I figured it might help. I'm going to go through the whole process, including the firmware installation. And so I've got everything here. So we're going to do the firmware updates on the XM Plus. And then we're going to go ahead and install it, and hopefully that'll kind of help anybody who may have some questions or anything about it. All right. So I'm just going to kind of jump right in and get started here and switch the camera focus here real quick. So let me see if I can do that. And there we go. All right. So what we're going to be working with, let me get this out of the way. That'll be for the screws that we use. This is our cable to do the firmware. I left this here because I want to bring this up during the conversation because there was an issue with this and I wanted to point it out to you guys. And then we've got our XM Plus here in the manual. So hopefully this will help you guys out a little bit. So first thing we're going to do is start with our firmware update. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the transmitter on.
Welcome to OpenTX. Acro mode.
All right. So getting the cable, and you can find these on our website. Actually, let me get the right cable. This is not the one that I need. 1 second, I will grab the right one. Where I have it. Okay, so I'm going to get this ready. I've got it actually sitting on another receiver right now, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off. But we're going to go ahead and do the firmware update, so I'm going to wait for my iron to heat up there real quick. It'll only take a second. And so what we're going to do is basically we're going to take the receiver. We're going to mount it under here, right under the bar here. We're going to heat shrink it, and we're going to attach wires to it, solder it, and call it a day. And then this quad's going to be ready to go. All right. But the most important thing is to make sure that we do our updates on it first. So let me go ahead and get this ready and get these off. Okay, now I'm going to reference the manual only because I know some of you guys have said that you want to be able to look at the manual and see what the layout is. So go ahead and open this for y'all. I'll give you an idea of what we're working with. Okay, so if you're looking at this quad, I mean, if you're looking at the receiver and you're looking at the manual, all right, the way the wires are going to be laid out, and you're going to look at it based on the antenna. So we're going to look at picture number 1, right? And I'll grab a pen here just so that we can circle and reference. All right, so the most important things is we have our S-bus right here, we have our 5-volt right here, and we have our ground. So you've got these three, ground being closest, and as you can see by the S-bus, it's going to be the one that has a square, and as you see here, it's a square. I'll see if I can zoom in, maybe that'll help a little bit. All right, I don't know if that's going to help you guys, but hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and get the wires on here. Now I'm going to tin this, and I'm going to actually solder the wires at the beginning for the update just because I'm going to end up soldering on this later. And I'll show you exactly what to do. So let me go ahead and knock that out real quick. And then you can watch how we do the update. All right? Because this is something that you're going to want to do so that we can, so that you've got no issues with your connection or any low signal errors or anything like that. All right. So first thing you do, again, is you use your flux pen or whatever flux it, however you apply it. Now I'm not going to hold this, I'm just going to use my finger here to hold it down. So let me go ahead and get this on here. 2 and 3. And remember guys, you're only holding these for about less than a second to get the solder on, right? Now you've got to have your cable here, and I'm using the QX7 right here. And the wire pattern for the QX7, which, and I know I've showed this in other videos, is going to connect right here on these 3 pins. And, excuse me, I got a little bit of a cold. You're going to actually wire from left to right. The wire pattern is going to be ground, positive, and then your S-bus. All right. And if you don't have this cable, let me know. You can find them on our website. Just go under the CycloneFPV.com and then go to the receiver section. You'll be able to find this cable here. So we're going to go ahead and plug this in. Make sure that that gets in there all the way. And then I'm going to go ahead and just solder these on because I've already soldered them before, and I don't believe these pins are going to go through the hole there. So we're going to go. Remember, you're going to go with ground first. And I'm going to start from the outside in, so I'm not crossing over when I'm soldering. So let me kind of get this adjusted and just try to kind of get this to hold real quickly. There's one. Hopefully that'll, I'd like to get it to hold without having to put too much solder on here. Let me see if I can get that. All right. If this will hold like this, it'll be great. If not, then I'll have to put on there a little bit better. So that's one. Then we'll go ahead and put our positive. which is our 5.0, that's 2. And then we're going to go ahead and put our ground. Now, usually, if you order the cable and it hasn't been soldered, then you'll be able to fit those right through the holes there. All right, so now that we're attached, and I think that's going to work just fine, open your QX7. As long as you've got your software on there, your firmware up there, hold down your menu button, press your page button once, and you're going to get to your firmware folder. Click that, and I'm going to scroll down till I get to my XM Plus, which is right here. I'm going to click it, and then I'm going to install the update, which is done by date here. So it's basically March 13th, 2017, and this is going to be the RSSI 16 channel update, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm going to hold down the button, and it's going to come up to flash to S port, which is what we're going to be doing. And then hold the button down again, and it's going to attach and start updating. And you will see, if I don't know if it's going to pick it up, but you might see a very faint light blinking green and red here. As you can see on the screen here, it says it's writing, so that's what we're looking for, right? You want to get this update done because if you want to run RSSI on channel 16 through Betaflight, so that you get your RSSI telemetry on your OSD and also down to your receiver, then this is how you're going to do it, and you're going to want to have this update on. If not, then the RSSI will not work if that update has not been put on there by you or by the manufacturer. These hands are for cuddling. Hey John, how you doing? Yeah, these are sweet hands, aren't they? All right, so we're almost done. Don't sidetrack me, because the last time I got sidetracked, I had the magic smoke pop up. So, all right, once we're done, we're going to exit out, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn my receiver or my transmitter off. And now we're ready to do the install. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the wires here real quick. All right, let me get this out of the way. And now I'm going to switch camera views because I need to use the old man goggles to do the rest. So let me put this here, and you don't need my face either. Let's just go ahead and do that, and boom. All right, so now we're going to get ready to finish the job here of the soldering, and we're also going to take the quad and open it up. So let me get started on that. All right, so ideally what you've got here, you've got the wires already run from HGLRC to do this. I want to go ahead and show you what we're working on the inside and give you an idea of what the rest of the wires are for. So let me go ahead and open this up here. All right. Now, what we're looking at is, if you can see right here, and I'll get this to show you. So here's where the receiver is soldered, okay? And then you have the option here if you're using FrSky, or if you're not, if you're going to use like a Spectrum receiver, then they've given you the other wires here. I'm going to go ahead and remove those because we don't need them. Now, we don't have to take this off, but I did want to kind of give you a view from down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the blue and the green. We are going to be using the FrSky receiver, so we're going to remove these two, and I'm just going to touch those with the iron real quick. And then what we're going to do is we're going to leave these wires coming out, mount it right here. But we need to heat shrink this first and get the wires ready. So first thing is, let's go ahead and get the wires removed. All right. And so in this case, we're just going to, I want to kind of try to get in here without taking too much apart. So I'm going to untwist the green wire, make sure I've got a good pull on it. And what we're going to do, and I'm trying to aim this so you guys can see it too. If I can get a good pull on it, let me see if they've got that. All right, and then we're going to get the blue wire. I don't want to have to take this off. Let me make sure I can pull this through, which I can. All right, so we'll start with the blue here then. So I'm going to pull on it a little bit so I can just get it off, and there we go. So that's out. We're going to go ahead. Green wire seems to be wrapped on something, so let me see if I can get to it. It's actually pinned pretty, there we go. All right, just wiggle it so it's not pinned anymore, and then there we go. So with those wires out, we'll set those aside, and now we're just going to focus on the 3 wires coming out that will connect to this board. All right, so ideally, this quad is going to sit, the top is going to sit like this. We're going to heat shrink this And what we're going to do is we're going to mount it here, and then we're going to put the zip ties here and have the antennas going up. All right. So we can go one of two ways when we mount it, but it's just a matter of preference on where you want it to fit. You could always try to go underneath if the room is clear enough for it. In this case, I'm just going to go right here, and then what I'll do is I'll put the zip ties here, and this should sit with no problem, and we should have total clearance. All right. So here we go. We're going to get started, and first thing you're going to want to do is make sure your wires are going to be long enough. And in this case, we've got kind of an excess amount of wire here, so we can go ahead and cut it back. So let me go ahead and see how far I want to cut this. It's actually not too bad. I may leave some of it and just tuck it in, but I am going to cut it back probably about 5 millimeters, or a little bit bigger than that. Yeah, it should work. All right. So once you cut the wires back, you're going to want to go ahead and tin them. And lately I have been tinning while applying the flux pen to it. I do like that a little bit better, actually. It seems to be a little bit cleaner tin. So first thing is strip off a little bit here. My advice here is to try to strip off about 2 to 3 millimeters of the outer sheathing. All right, and the reason for that is when you tin it, you can cut back the excess after it's tinned, but you want to have a little bit of room there to play with. And by doing that, I'm going to go ahead now and lay it on the mat. Apply the flux here real quick. All right, like this. All right, now before you go and put your solder on it, just twist up your wires. Make sure that you've got those strands twisted tightly. You do not want them opening up. There's not a lot of room on this receiver, so you need to keep them as tight as possible. So there we go. All right, leave them exposed like that real quick. Grab your solder. Let me clean the tip of this iron real quick. All right, and we're going to go ahead and tin the wires. It's a pretty quick process. My fat nugget fingers can't get in there, but if you shouldn't have a problem. All right, so those wires are now tinned, and now what we want to do is cut them down to the length that we need. And so in this case, we're going to cut them very short. 1 millimeter is probably the maximum that you would need. All right, get rid of the excess. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and solder this. And remember, looking at the receiver, you've got ground on the outside, and then you've got your positive, and then you've got your S bus. All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and clean this up. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and attach these. And I'm just going to use my strippers here as a placement holder. One. I got to get a grip on this one. Hold on. Put a little bit of solder back down there. I took a little too much off. There we go. There's 2. I'll put a little bit more down there again for the ground. There we go. And there's 3. So we've got our 3 wires on there. Let me check and make sure they're solid. They are. Everything looks good. That's our setup right there. Now what we want to do is I'm going to go ahead and just twist up the rest of the wire and put our heat shrink over it. So I think what I'll do is I'll probably use the black one. And before I finish the heat shrink, I'm going to go ahead and put some hot glue on there to hold everything, including the antennas. But you've got to make sure that you can get to the binding so that the customer can bind it when he receives it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this right about here. Yeah, that should be about right. So let me go ahead and do that. Yeah, that looks good. And then I will take out I'll use my hole punch for that, so hold on one second. Oh, actually, I'll just cut it. Hold on. Let me close this up and get this part, because like I said, you do need to get to the binding button. Sorry, I have the shakes today because I haven't eaten, so everything looks like I'm having an earthquake right now. But there has not been much time for anything but some work today, so let me go ahead. All right, so this is what we're looking at right now. We've got the cutout ready, which is going to go over the bind button. Now I'm going to apply a little bit of glue. I want the wires to stay in place, especially on impact during a crash, and also I want my antennas to stay in place on impact, and these are where usually we see a little bit of weakness, so I'm just going to go ahead and apply that real quick. All right, what'll happen though, and I've discussed this in the past, is you will see the glue that I'm applying. Once you put your heat shrink back on there, it's going to actually melt the glue back and almost bind that heat shrink and almost somewhat seal it off, so to speak. I'm also, for the customer, I'm also going to go ahead and glue a little bit here, because these antennas can pop off, and I want to make sure that that stays in place. But I'll do that at the last minute once I make sure everything here is done properly. All right, so with that done, and the heat shrink, and the glue on there, now we're going to go ahead and put our heat shrink on there. And we want to make sure that we lay it out to where that bind button is visible. Now the heat shrink is going to go ahead and add, it's going to kind of shrink up a little bit even around here and expose that more. But I'm going to use my finger to kind of hold it in place. So let's go ahead and get that started. And at this point the glue will also be melting, so when you press this down, you can actually feel the glue adhere to it, and as you press it, it's just going to spread, and that's going to better protect even those components there. So let's get this all nice and sealed. All right, that's looking good. And we'll press this down just to give us a little bit more protection on that. All right, so now we've got our XM Plus on here, and we've already updated it, so we've got our new firmware on there. So now we're going to figure out how we want to lay this out here. We're going to put a piece of double-sided tape right along this strip here, which should not be a problem. If I can find the tape, here it is. And it's going to be a pretty small strip of it, so let me just go ahead and cut this. There we go. Make sure that we don't get in the way of, cut it back just a little bit. All right, and that should do it. So we go ahead and take the tweezers and place this right here like this. And you can make sure to place it in such a way where you could run a tie strap through if you wanted to, or zip tie if you wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and use this to get this other side off. I never have success at it without some help with some tool. Let me grab something a little more point here. All right. Oh, for the love of God, come on and get this off. There you go. All right. So we got this part. And we'll hold it down. There we go. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and place this on here. And you can figure out how you want to do it. You can turn it this way and bring the wires back. Not too worried about how I'm going to pull this off. The only thing I want to make sure of is that it goes in clean without any issue. And you know what? I probably, excuse me, probably could have come up through there. Should have done that just to make it a little bit cleaner. Let me see how I want to make this work. Well, tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and change this up. I want to get this antenna out of the way. and see the best way going to be to mount this. For the antennas, I can put the antennas up here, I guess, if I want to. So let me go ahead and do that. Now, if you're going to be using like a camera, for example, and you're going to mount a camera here, then what you would want to do is instead of going this route, you would go this route, okay? And what I'm going to end up doing after the video is, I should have, actually I'll try to do it real quickly here. Let me see if I can get to this without taking this off. I should have run the wire through that hole there, and I didn't, and it would be a much cleaner look if I did, so I'm just going to go ahead, plan on doing that. So let me get the ground out of here. I don't want to take that heat shrink off because it's pretty solid now and those wires are pretty good. So I can always bind this back. So let me go ahead and take the ground off of here. But you would want to go through the whole first, 2 and 3. There we go. All right, so to make this cleaner, you're going to want to go this route. All right, and get these wires through this hole here. There we go. And I'm going to assume the customer is going to use a camera, so I'm going to just feed these just like this and mount these on the back piece so they don't get in the way of the view of the camera at all. So let me get that done. All right, I'm going to offset that so I can get the antenna in. And then the antenna is going to zip tie, so we will sit somewhat like this to give him the option to put his camera on here without being in view, without the wires being in view. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now looking at this, we've got a receiver mounted. Okay, the receiver's in place, wires are tucked away, running through, antenna's good. So we will zip tie the antenna like it came from the factory, which will be zip tied to the side, and then we still have the binding button available. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our zip ties here and allow the antennas to stick straight up. Cameron, it all depends. We on the quads that I do here, the assembly ranges, the labor range is from 50 to 100 bucks, depending on the components being used. And I'll be more than happy to, if you just message me, I'll send you some information on that with some links that you can look at for pricing. All right. Now I've got to get the wires back through to solder them. This is the more tedious part because if I had done it the other way, it would have already been done, but I did not run those wires through the hole first. So we're going to go right through here. Let me see if I can feed these back. Something tells me I may have to take the VTX off, which I really don't want to do, but not a big deal. Very little room to work with here. Get my tweezers there. All right. All right, so there's my S bus, and I will get the power and ground here in just a second. If you have fat fingers like me, you need to have a lot of patience when working around these small components. All right, there's my ground, and then I'll just get my power. Come here, you little sucker. All right, there's my power. So I've got all my 3 wires here. I'm just going to solder them back real quick. And again, if I had just done it the other way, I wouldn't have been doing that, but I did not do that. So let me go ahead and get these soldered, and then we can close this up. All right, so we'll do our S bus first. That is on the outside. do our ground. That is next. Get a grip on it. There we go. All right, and then we will do a positive, and then we will close this up. Okay, so we've got our wires reconnected back, and now we're just going to go ahead, put the plate on, get our antenna cable back. Let me turn it this way so I can get the antenna cable on. Cables, fat fingers don't work with little cables. And then we'll apply some glue on this to make sure that these cables stay on. All right. Go ahead and put the top back on. And now we'll just put the screws down. There we go. Yes, Sean, at the beginning of the video, I showed that we did the flashing of the XM. So it has the ability to do the channel 16 RSSI on it. So that's on there. Two more screws and the job is done. And then we'll just run our zip ties up here. All right. I don't know if I have any purple heat shrink, but I'm going to find out real quick. Let me see. Well, I do, and this might actually work pretty good. So let me go grab two zip ties. I thought I had some here, but they're in the back in the bin. So give me 1 second. Put these in here and put a couple down here. All right, so now that we've got it in and everything's set, receiver's in, everything looks good, we want to go ahead and get our antennas mounted. And so in this case, we can go one of two options, and I'm just going to go from the outside in and have it curve back. Go ahead and do this. Israel, how you doing, bud? All right, now that we've got these on, we're just going to go ahead and place our antenna wires in here. And we're going to get our, let me make sure how long this is going to need to be. All right, we should be all right. I'm just going to cut this in half for now because I do not think, let me see. I'm just thinking if I have a thinner one. Actually, I might, hold on one second. Non-purple. All right, I'm just going to use this purple one then. So let me go ahead and get that ready. Okay. You could kind of bend the back a little bit and have them hold just a little bit there, and when they cool off, they'll should stay in that little shape. All right. And that's it. You can adjust these now. The receiver is on there. Receiver is not moving, it's set. And I'll probably put a dab of hot glue on each side of it just to hold it in place. As a matter of fact, I'll just knock that out real quick because I want to make sure that it sits good. And you still have room to add your camera, and everything is good to go. On the antenna here, we'll go ahead and add a zip tie to that to hold it in place. I'll do that in a second. I think I want to just clean up the rest of this real quick before I do that. But there you go. So that's how you install your XM Plus or any other receiver. You've got plenty of room here. I thought I had a session here so I could put it on top. I think maybe I have one on my desk. Hold on a second. Yeah. So I mean, just to give you an idea of the room left, it's not going to get in the way or interfere. So you've got plenty of room here, right, to finish the job. And your receiver's not going to get in the way, but you still have access to your binding button, so you can bind it. It's set permanently, and that's it. So there you go, guys. That's how you do it. If you have any questions, let me know. You go to CycloneFPV.com, hit us up on the Facebook page. We're doing a video a day minimum, so if you need some help with something and I've got the components here, I'll be more than happy to open them. They don't have to be open. We'll open something new for you and just show you guys how to do it. If not, we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys, and let me know if you need anything. Talk to you later. Bye.